my dear friend, artist, cloth maker, magician, and a person of many hats, Elyahou Bialobos.
Hi.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Amazing. It's good that we reverse and you practice 25 times.
Thank you for having us at your beautiful home. It's
you're welcome.
such a piece of art, and I know that this house has a story in the way you create it, and there's many things I know you have been creating in your life. I'm always so inspired by everything you do, by the work you do, by the things you have done in your life, by the experience you share with your people, the knowledge you carry, and the wisdom you transmit. And there's, by being such a person of many hats and a person of so much deep wisdom and knowledge, how do you manage to create all of this? Essentially, what's the secret?
I mean, I don't really know. It's not, first of all, it's never all. Everything is one little piece. So, it's not like I'm doing it all at once. I'm doing this and then I'm doing that. And so when you start to just be in the things that you do, then everything is moving, but it's not, you're not doing everything at once. My favorite expression is when the ocean, when the tide rises, all the boats rise. So when you start putting love and attention and creativity in one field, then you can put it into another field and to another field, and there's correspondence.
In our world, though, there's so much going on, and there's many elements kind of mixed in one soup. It's like, and when creativity is sprouting, and there's so much blossoming out of the body wants to be created. How to stay centered? Sometimes I feel like I start the project here and there, and then there's definitely a challenge in the mastery in learning how to give the right ingredients and the right timing to all of the things I'm doing. So how do you manage that? Or how do you because you've done so many different things, working in fashion, making clothes, and studying ancient knowledge, and there's many more things that I probably still don't know about you, but yet creating such a different spectrum of things. How do you know that this project today has to go and this one has to start, and how to come back to the old one, start the new, managing the time and space, I think. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you don't manage anything. I think it's just either you get pleasure and joy and drive and get flow from doing something. If I wake up one day and I decide to sew, I'm behind the machine and I'm enjoying it, I'm doing it. If I don't enjoy it, I stop. Right? And so there's a lot of things that excite me. I'm excited to meet new people, to take pictures, to tell stories. I'm excited by creativity. I'm excited by upcycling objects and fabric and anything that I find. Marriage just brought me this. That's so cute. Look at this. It's gorgeous, So everything has beauty and energy. And so my creative process is kind of where I love to overwhelm myself and get lost and almost drawn and be super confused. And then I find one little thread, one thing, and then from there I come back, and then magic happens. So, because if I start reproducing the same things that I know, then I'm not really creative. I'm just, reproducing. I'm just, but if where am I going? What am I doing? What am I doing with this? What am I doing, and I don't know, then I'm okay, fuck, what do I do now? And then there's a little call that goes, and I try doing this, and then this brings me there. I mean, you saw it downstairs, it's chaotic right now because I'm in a creative process. And so, an example, when I make some pieces, sometimes I'm not sure what is going to go with what, so I open all the fabrics everywhere to a point where I'm oh, now it's a mess everywhere. How can I think? And then I'm what about if you take this fabric that you opened 2 hours ago and you mix it with this one that is behind the stuff that you left 2 months ago, and then some maps, some things start to show up. And then I do it, I'm oh wow, I like that. And then now I'm confident. Now other idea comes, then you get into the flow. Basically, we're talking about flow state. Where you bypass the mind and you just intuitively connect it to what makes sense to you. in your own hands.
So the flow state, even though flow state is something like almost liquid, something that you trust and you sense and feel, there's always a root that still grounds you in the flow state, like that structure that like roots you down. Would you share more about your roots? What's your origin? Where you come from? Like, what are your foundation? What keeps you, you know, what keeps you rooted in this such a chaotic creative flow that you always experience?
I think that's a great question. I think what keeps me rooted is experience. Mm-hmm. You know, I jumped, I drowned, and I survived, and I jumped, and I drowned, and I survived, and after the third jump and the third drown, you're like, okay, I'm just going to survive. So you go through those experiences. I love the idea of, I mean, it's a bit classic to bring that, but this idea of faith, this idea of divine, the idea that you have a purpose, like whatever you do, there is this reality, there's a 3D, there is money, there is friends, there is exchange of energy, but then there is other realms and other field that comes into it. And I think like the best of my life since I'm getting a little bit older is to understand vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And then through vulnerability come understanding, compassion, empathy, and all kind of things to yourself and therefore to others. And I think that's a really great tool for, we were talking about maybe peace is the topic of your segment, right? So I think this is a great access to peace. And yeah, so I mean, I get confused, I get lost, I go through all of this process and I'm like, okay, look where you're at. You've been there before and you came back from there. So it's like going into a journey. You can't resist what's coming at you, but you can witness how you're handling it. And if you're handling it in a way that is harmful for your own mind and your own body and your own system, then you have to ask yourself, where is your love?
Where is your love? What, so kind of like it creates, what I'm hearing you sharing is like, you know, all the experiences, you know, create growth, and experience is the foundation upon which we can lean on. Something, if I've done something, that is a foundation for me of knowledge, of skill and the mastery about something. So it creates kind of like that root, right? And if you practice something over and over and over again, you become better at this.
Yes.
Is there like a practice in your life that you have, that you've been practicing, that has been creating that foundation for you?
Yeah, and I just want to add to what you say. I think is like the more you do that, the more you start to detect patterns. How one event creates an emotion, creates a thought, creates a reaction, get into a kind of situation, and new situations are the same and they repeat. So when you start noticing that something is going like, I'm tired, I'm going to be upset, something is annoying me, I'm going to let my parasite express itself. And you notice that the pattern is showing up, and you're like, oh, interesting, this is this pattern again. Do I really need to go through that pattern, or maybe I need not? So that way experience and growth and awareness makes you become, the journey is not to be the same person with more awareness, but to be able to notice what's the trigger, what the trigger generates. And my practice is very simple. Like I wake up in the morning and whatever happened, I go into a mat and I spend 1 hour just stretching whatever my body wants. So it's not like I don't have like a special form. Recently my shoulder was hurting and I was trying to like relax and open up, you know, and I realized if I start stretching my pinky or like just fingers and wrist and forearms, then I get more relaxed here. But I was trying to stretch my back and stretch other places. So what is interesting in life is often the solution is a very simple thing that you didn't think of, that is really close to you.
So, you know, I'm blessed to have you as my friend in my life for a while, and you know, been inspired by the practical creation you've been making of dressing people up so beautifully and authentically and so uniquely. I'm also representing, you know, your work with this piece, and it's kind of, it's art. right? It's not just like a creation of business, it's art that you make, and then you turn it into a physical object that is actually represent energy and frequency, and create an energetic feel that people feel, and they put them on. It's like they take it on. And from my experience, art is the most central and kind of main ways to create harmony in our life. Be creative, be expressive. And our channel is about peace, and kind of the peace channel is invitation to bring more different ways. How do we practice peaceful living and harmonious being and balance, finding balance and learning how to navigate. So art is one of them. And there's also, we adapt different knowledges from different places when we go through life. I've been also honored to visit some of your Shabbat dinners, and I know that this has been something that really had opened a huge door for me to understand the importance of people coming together and community, and me feeling home and feeling invited, feeling that I belong to a space, and I belong to a table that is full of food, and I belong to abundance, and I belong to unconditional giving, and unconditional way of accepting who is coming and what is coming and what are the energies and stories comes with that. So I would like kind of get more pieces of wisdom and gems of wisdom from you around this practice of Shabbat and the origins of it as a Jewish practice in the Jewish tradition, and perhaps like what is it, what's the original story of Shabbat, and what is it based on? As a person who really is a temple keeper and a wisdom keeper of this tradition, I would like to open the window for people of Peace Channel to really get this knowledge and learn from it.
Okay. Thank you for asking me this. It's a beautiful question. When we do Shabbat, we say Shabbat Shalom, right? So we say Shabbat, and Shalom means peace. Okay? So Genesis of Shabbat, when God created the world, He created everything every day. For 6 days, every day He created light and darkness, and the world above, the water below, and the creatures, and then the 6th day He looks at His creation. He said, "This is good. So now I'm gonna rest." And to honor that cycle of creation, every Friday for 25 hours we rest. No work. Just rest, and you can pray, or you can sing, or you can eat good food. It's like a time to be with your family. It's a time to celebrate life outside of the chaos of what's happening in the world. So imagine that like this year, like last week, it was a fast for the destruction of the 2 temples, and that fast landed on Shabbat. So the fast has been moved after Shabbat. And we still celebrate Shabbat, we still eat, we still do all of that. And then the next day we did that. So the priority was the Shabbat. And the other thing which is fascinating is most people know the 10 Commandments, but when you ask them, they can't express it. And the 10 Commandments are basically a map for consciousness. And the fourth one is a deal between you and the Creator. So it's I am your Creator. You shall not have any other Creator than me. You cannot use my name in vain. You shall not make image of me. And then you shall respect the Shabbat. So this is one of the 10 Commandments. And after that, it's from human to human. And it goes like, you shall respect your parent. Which is beautiful. Like most people don't even are aware that this is a commandment. But imagine a lineage where every children respect the parents, etc., etc. So there is no break of, and it goes on. And then there is no kill, no steal, not convey your neighbor's wife and chicken and duck, etc., and not commit adultery, and not do lie during a trial. When you swear on something, you cannot lie. So those are basically those commandments, and Shabbat is one of them. Shabbat is special for me because I kind of like readapted this Shabbat to me and and the different community I'm part of, and it becomes a time and a place where we gather. Most of the time, we do a big potluck. So the more people comes, the better it is. There is abundance. There is lots of food, and then we all gather and we take time and we try to follow some traditional rituals. So we invite the space and we honor this tradition. If I was going to Alaska, see some Eskimo, I would honor how they serve dinner or what they do for their traditional experience, and I would be flattered to be part of that and interested by it. So we kind of try to bring this in this house, and then we open to one conversation. And in Judaism, is the study of the Torah. Every Shabbat, you study a different portion. So I'm trying to take the portion of the week and see what it says, and then ask questions to my friends and see how would they interpret this in their life, in now. And what is unfolding is that everyone start to open up and share from a place of vulnerability, from a place of sensibility, from a place of intelligence, from a place of wisdom. And then, as you notice, like after 1, 2, 3 purple, everybody's like lift up. There's an energy in the room, like we all are super interested.
It's like a dropping few layers down as we familiarize with each other's story, as we familiarize with each other, process of the moment. It's like and that that's like sound of like water. The ha is the sound of water, and the sound of water is also for me is a feminine energy of life and the feminine flow, and learning, living in a world has a lot of busyness and a lot of destruction of many things. Like relaxing to the moment feels very good, and like coming back to the mother womb and feeling this feminine principle of life. And I'm personally very curious, and I would like to hear some transmissions if you have on this topic of so the Jewish tradition, and Shabbat as a part of that is also based on Kabbalah, which is the tree of life. Would you share more about Kabbalah and the tree of life? What does it represent, and how can people navigate? It's a map. It's a map of consciousness, and how that supports you and perhaps your process, and how people of Jewish tradition support themselves in their life to find that Shabbat Shalom, hello peace. That's kind of a path, and it's based on this knowledge of the tree of life and existence and humankind and all we come from, the roots of where we are. And yes.
I mean, this is like a huge topic, so there is a lot of literature about the tree of life, but to sum it up, you have 3 columns. You have the masculine, the central column, and the feminine column. So you have all the value. You have wisdom, knowledge as it comes, like a spark, and then you have judgment. Then you have kindness, you have glory, you have victory. So you have all the different systems. It is said that the world was created through those different spheres of energy, and how they interact with each other creates different things. This is the alchemy. So the letters, the Hebrew letters, and the sephirots were the tools to create all the worlds, all the universe. And then the crown, the top one is Keter, which represents divinity, and then the lowest one is Malchut, who represents the kingdom, which is earth, which is matter. That's Malchut. And the other one is ethereal. And in Shabbat, what you say is really true. There's we invite the Shekhinah, which is the feminine side of creation, of creator, that comes. So this is a very peaceful, loving, caring, mother-like experience. Light, bright. We light the candles, we bring the light, we pray. It's, it's, I think it's like, without being super deep in every topic, it's like, imagine if you do yoga and you do down dog. And then one day you start doing the right breath. So now your body is using a technology, your breath is doing something, and then boom, you have an idea and you think of something else. Now you are transferred to another place. And the rule is not the rule, but the goal is not to feel this and then be somewhere else and be like, oh, that was amazing. How do you take this and bring it to the everyday life?
Exactly.
So yeah, the idea is like any study, any research, any claim that you have for anything has to be able to be deciphered so you can come back to the simple things of life. Because we can all be peaceful on top of a mountain in the Himalaya for 3 months with a bunch of monks, and then we come back home and then what who says who and then we lose it. How do you integrate that peace in your daily life? And that's the big challenge. The challenge is, it's not to be able to find peace. It's to be able to maintain that things with different interaction and element. And I think right now, like one of the keys, the nervous system. Because your nervous system is giving you stomach cramp or anxiety or short breath or whatever, and then you're starting to act out of fear because your body is in fear. But if you realize that your body is in fear, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of tense right now, but it's just an information. Am I really tense? Am I really afraid? Am I in danger? What am I going to lose? Then you kind of like maybe ease out, and then maybe the peace can, the light can come back in slowly. So it's just a practice.
I love this vision, the visionary that you kind of created, like how one person can go on top of the mountain and meditate and kind of find all the peace within. But once you go into the world and the wilderness of this political, social connections and all of the different, economic system and all of the different ways, it takes you kind of like, it pulls you different direction, and like kind of all of the different elements of life, and like the Shabbat, and bringing people into a space together around something, in a circle, around a table of food, around a table of family pieces. Everybody who gathers is representing a different piece, and therefore if somebody has lack of energy or a lot of energy, it all balances out and comes into like sharing and finding the peace as a collective consciousness, as a collective group, as one organism that shares itself. So because finding peace on your own is definitely a work also sometimes, but finding peace as a group and as a community, as kind of as an environmental expression of life, it has more kind of dynamics in it. So bringing people in the circle is like one of the way for me to learn that a circle has technology, and circling something around something it has intelligence, and it works on its own. And I love these discoveries, and I see a lot of circles have been forming, and people create circles, the circle around food, or circle around playing cards or games. People feel belonging, they feel they want to be part of something. So Shabbat is an amazing practice because you also bring not just people together, but you also bring them around food and appreciating the gifts of nature and the gifts of Mother Gaia that feeds us all, and appreciating the home cooking and bringing it at a potluck, meaning so everybody contributes something to the table, right? There is like a mutual desire and willingness to bring something forward, knowing there are going to be other people to feed. So you come not just to take care of yourself, but you come with an intention to share. And this whole intention to share is a big brings like a peace to the heart, and to the it feels good to everyone's soul. That's kind of a basic human desire, to feel that they can serve their neighbor, even though the society built that a little bit of different sort of kind of thoughts about how we're supposed to navigate, and there's like separateness of houses, and everybody has their own car, their own house, their own job, or their own project or business. For me, it's all about how do we create an ecosystem that's mutually thriving and working as a whole, one living organism. Shabbat is like really opens me practically and very particularly these keys, and understanding how that how that works and how it's important and how just it feels very good in my system together.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, it's beautiful the way you say all of that. I think the rabbis say if you keep Shabbat, Shabbat keeps you. So like if you manage to rest and regroup and open to your spirituality or to whatever you do, then you change your frequency, you change your magnet, and then the next week you start attracting things, right? And so it's a reset. It's like, you know, when a computer is bugging, you restart, right? So Shabbat is a forced restart on a weekly basis for your nervous system, for everything. And the thing you said about being in group, what I really love in this format is that there's a moment that there is trust. There's a moment that you can be goofy, you can be stupid, you can be awkward, it doesn't matter. You're not here to be judged. You're here to represent a part of the collective consciousness to who you are by being sincere, honest, and vulnerable. And as everybody's here to support you, it feels like there is very little judgment. There's never argument. We're not arguing. We're not saying, no, I think that this is. It's just a place where everyone speaks. We take turn and we all listen to each other. And because you have the floor and you can talk and nobody's going to interrupt you, people start to share stuff with themselves that they won't be able to tell themselves when they're alone with themselves. But when now there's a witness, something comes out. And I think I was with, I'm not going to name it, but I was with some friends a long time ago, one of the first Shabbat, and we started going around, and this girl talked about some trauma she had when she was a kid. And it was so strong. It was like so poignant, like so, you know, that it brought the topic into this field, but it was really, really special. And the next day people come, it's like, Elyahou, this dinner was amazing. I was heard, I feel healed, I feel better. I was super attentive to what other people had to share. And that moment is a moment where we like revalue ourselves and others. Understand that the other is not another, is somebody else that is going through similar experience in different order. And then when we all witness that, then we can create a place where we're okay, we're not perfect. It's a process, it's a journey. And some of us have a flashlight, some of us have big spotlight, and some of us just have a matches, but we all contributing.
I love that so much.
Me too. That's my medicine, you know, it's one of my big medicine. For myself and for others, and vice versa. Like I feed off others and others feed off each other, and you know, I see the room looks different the next day.
Yes,
you know.
Yes, the energy shifts. And you know, you at the very beginning of our conversation, you mentioned vulnerability and how that vulnerability brings something out, and when something out is like then the space gets to be filled up with something new. So the shift happens on such deeper level through vulnerable and open heart. And this is such medicine for the whole world. To establish peaceful coexistence is to open the heart and be vulnerable and to share. And yet I love what you also mentioned, which is very, very important. It creates feel of trust. So everybody came, we all sit in a circle. It almost brings, I wouldn't like equality of unity of differences. Yes. And in that way, like everybody feels like, okay, you know, we're all in this together, and there's a
no one is more important or less, richer or poor, or more beautiful or less. It doesn't matter. They all have the same weight at the table.
Yes, it's just such a magical feeling of knowing how to bring more peace to the world. It's just by, you know, cultivating of these practices of coming together for meals, coming together to share, look each other eye to eye, and have that drop-in conversation versus having a phone call or a text message. It just changes everything. And because we all the time also people on the phone, like when we meet in person, it feels so special, it feels so unique that you can touch each other and eye connection and all of that. Hello.
And then we sing together, and then there's music, and then there's all kind of things. I want to share that story with you because it's kind of like it was a refugee camp where they had different people and a different group of people. And one group was from Kurdistan. They were Kurd, and so this is a huge refugee camp with all kind of nationality. but the Kurd decided to set up a little camp, to make a fire in the center, to take all the food and redistribute the food among them, start singing songs, tell stories. And so their journey in a refugee camp, they were not just refugee camp, they were living their life. They recreated a place. Yes, it's shitty, we're in a refugee camp, there's this, but everybody else was like miserable all the time. And they recreated a sense of community, of sharing, of being together, of finding some joy. Alegría.
Alegría. And I love this story. And you know, what comes to me, what does it take to create a peaceful, joyful life, no matter where you are, whether it's a refugee camp or whether it's in the middle of nowhere and you have very little with you, is making a fire, dancing and singing, expressing yourself artistically, you know. And I think I had this quote, it's like, I read it on Instagram today, this morning. I cannot cite it, but it's like, where have we forgotten to dance and sing? That's where we actually, that's the main medicine, that's where the peace is being born from our ability to express our voice and sing and move and move the energy, and therefore harmonizing it with one another. You know, when did this world become so serious? You know, so serious, and it's creating and allowing mind to build, you know, like skyscrapers. Why do we need those?
Yeah, we live in boxes,
exactly.
boxes, you know.
So there's like coming back to movement and heart and the voice is such, it's a medicine of peace. And you know, and artistic expression, making clothes, choosing colors, and you know, playing
Chloe.
Exactly. Like, I love your house because your house is made out of so many like, you know, like things that I never think that they can match together, but when you look at it, it's a piece of art, and like, how can you know?
And it's all found, it's all like
Exactly.
repurposed, it's all. I mean, I just like, you know, I love to find object, and when I basically, I think my drive is to see beauty, and I see beauty in everything. I mean, more or less, you know. So there's potential of beauty in everything.
Yes.
You know, so I see. There's an armchair downstairs, like a rocking chair. It was broken on the side of the road, and I just liked it. And I was like, I don't have the skills to fix it. But then I met a guy that is a carpenter, and I made a trade with him for a pawn shop, and he came and fixed the armchair. And then I had this piece of fabric that I bought in Peru, where they used to carry the herbs for the donkey and stuff like that. He has this special smell. It's rough, it's beautiful, and I put it on it, and I was like, oh my God, this is beauty. And that brings so much joy. To take bits and pieces that were abandoned, not valued, that mean nothing, and now there is a new alchemy, a new assemblage of different things, and it looks beautiful. And I think this is a world, like, this is our difference, like humans are the same. If we find a way to reorganize our difference into beautiful patterns, so where my tradition goes there and yours goes there, and then we can mix those and create that, then the mandala is keep on moving. Then, you know, nobody is right, nobody is wrong. We all have different perspective, and instead of fighting perspective, we should enhance the experience of what perspective represents, as long as the intention is beauty, love, peace, harmony. Yeah. Art is, I mean, art, you know, is like, yeah, I mean, that's how, you know, look at cavemen, then when they start drawing and using art, that's how they start evolving, because now it's a transmission, you know? I mean, this society is based on art, but it became a business. And art is not a business. A kid, when he starts to draw, he doesn't think, he just does it, right? He can use the left hand, the right hand, he can use his foot, like, they don't really care, right?
Yes.
But they are in that process, and that process is where the right brain function. We live in a society that is structured, so we use the left brain, everything is calculate and purpose and why and how and what's this. But really, like, the beauty doesn't live there. The beauty lives like, oh, did you see this dragonfly? And you stare at it, you're like, oh, this hummingbird or something. And, you know, and then for a second, you're in a state of awe. And that state of awe is what the soul wants to experience on earth. Because this is the paradise. This is the Eden. Like, look at the diversity of plant, nature, animal, humans, music, language, art. You know, it's like it's all here. Why are we
all possibilities.
Why are we struggling? Like, who said that we should struggle instead of like be like, hey, that's good. I love that. I love this planet. I love this life.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hold to that.
Yes.
I hold to that. Okay, I love this. We landed at art. Yes, and Earth. The name Earth. The word Earth has art within it. It's like a kind of like a core of Earth.
Yes.
It's be creative, art, create, and we can create any scenario of life. We can play, and as an artist, like what I'm hearing you sharing is like trying different things, what works, what I like, what feels good, playing, constantly playing, and creating new patterns over and over again, and mastering the skills, and creating beauty, creating value, putting things together, and caring for things, not throwing them away, but creating a new value for the things that serve them otherwise, and recycling, creating something that's serving the humanity. And that's definitely, if we all think that way, we can create a very beautiful, harmonious, balanced society.
We have so much waste. Why do we have waste? There's no waste. Nature doesn't have waste.
Exactly.
So we disconnect it from, so we create waste, and we create this and we create that. Everything is energy, and everything can support something else. See, I just want to show something about what we do in Shabbat is, in Shabbat everybody shows up, and normally when you shows up, you are like a tapestry. You show your beautiful, my eyebrows are good, my nose, my mustache, my clothes, this and that. That's what I show the world. And on Shabbat, what I show is not the tapestry, I show all the wire on the other side that are going everywhere. So it's not uniform, it's completely chaotic, but this is what's really happening for me to show up like this in the world. And when you understand that, then you can appreciate the peace in the chaos, the beauty in the mess. And so we keep on reharmonizing, redefining what is beauty. I think maybe 6-7 years ago I would never dare wear a hat like this. Now I go everywhere with a hat like that, and people look at me and they're like, "This is a weirdo," and I'm like, "Good morning."
Hello.
And there's a time where my ego would have been offended if people were judging me for my hat. Now I'm happy that I create a spark for them to think outside of their own, and if they need to tease me for a second, that's their tease, that's their judgment, that's their story.
They've got your attention.
And they got my attention, and then I got their attention, and at the end, it's like, maybe some people laugh, and that really makes me happy when people laugh, or people go like, "I really like your hat." But it's little details, but I'm not so attached to it, but it's a vector. So this is what we talked about, like the practice that we need to find is what energy, what physical things, what intellectual, what dance, sing, do something, what can you do to create field that resonate with others, and then these fields grow and they grow and they grow, and as they grow, we went to Burning Man many times, so it's the same thing. It's a bunch of crazy weirdos, rich or poor, that goes and decide to be their own avatars, or search or create manifestation of the dreams, or be mind blown, or whatever it is, and that creates a magma field of energy that things that you want shows up. Or whatever, you're like, oh, there is a magic happening in this world. And if we were taking the same energy and bringing it into the causes and the system that needs to have light shine upon, because every single human has magic skills that are either sleeping inside of him that he's not even aware of, but everybody has something. Everybody has a voice.
Did you hear that? Everybody has something. You have art and skills and gifts inside of your heart. You are talented beings, every single one of us, of you, and all together.
Of you, and you, and you, and you, and you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But some people. I was born in the Soviet Union. People. Nobody told me that I am artist. It was not popular to be artist. And I grew up not allowing myself to think I'm an artist. And, growing up towards, recent years I started really choosing that I am an artist, making that choice. So if somebody is still questioning that, what kind of message you can tell them?
Well, first of all, you don't need to be an artist. You don't need the status, you don't need the label. Do things that inspires you. So you were talking about mastership, mastering something. Like I think I master photography or light because I've been doing it for so many years, and I started to understand more and more what I like, what light meant, how it created an atmosphere, what can I carry. And then I was like, how can I direct my subject? What angles do I want to show them? What expression do I want them to be upset? I want them to be, I don't like smiley pictures, but what do I want to express, right? And then this becomes, you start doing 20 portraits, and then you're like, oh, it looks like there's a little silver string that is going through all of them. And that's become your style, your personality. And then you dig a little deeper. And then it becomes something else, and then one day you start to master those things, and then you're like, okay, so now I know how to cook this dish, let me start doing other dishes with the same knowledge but taking a bit more risk. So now sometimes when I shoot, I ask my subject to, I let them go free, because normally I'm very like chin down, look left, look right, like very directive, and then at some point I'm like, okay, now let's shoot your playground. And people start dancing or moving or doing things that I would have never ever think of capturing. And then I look at what they're offering me, and I'm like, wow, I was missing so much by being so focused on what I thought I wanted to get. So art has just been available.
I love this. Art is just being available. Are you available to universe to sprout through you and blossom and create the most magnificent things in the world? That's the question I think I want to leave everybody with.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Oh.
I love you so much. It's a joy.
To be continued, folks.